This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan. My guest today is Joy Kelly. I met her on LinkedIn, not even Instagram, on LinkedIn a little bit ago, and she just knocks my socks off with how passionate she is about feeding people and making food accessible. She's a health coach, and she also has her own YouTube channel, which is super fun. I'm going to let her tell you more about her, but she's got so much energy, and she is so freaking smart. It was really fun to talk to her and get to know her a little bit better. So, right, Joy Kelly, she's going to be talking to us about eating more plants, eating more, produce, and working in some plant-based meals. And also growing vegetables. She has her own product for that, and some really cool information could go along with that, which really impressed me. And if you watch on YouTube, or if you have YouTube available, she actually shared her screen, and she showed some stats, which is really, really interesting. So check that out when you have the chance. If you love this podcast, please share it with somebody that you care about. Please feel free to rate and review, subscribe to the podcast. All those things help to keep the podcast going, and they make me feel good. If you don't love the podcast, please let me know. You can send me a message. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. You can also send me a good old-fashioned email. I like those too. But if, this is for all of us, and if you're not getting value out of this, I want to make that right. So, and if you have anything to share, if you have a story to share, if you have sustainability tips to share, please let me know, because I'd love to talk with you as well. But here is Joy. I hope you enjoy this. My guest today is Joy Kelly, and Joy has a company called Chapala Gardens, and I'm gonna have Joy tell us about that. But Joy, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's not a company, it's a farm. I work for the parent company that sells the technology that we use, but we have a rooftop aeroponic farm on a 110-year-old building on the beach in Santa Barbara. So just let your brain wrap around all of that for a minute, because that's a lot of information. A rooftop aeroponic vertical farm on a 110-year-old building, historic, on the beach in Santa Barbara. Each piece of that, like, is just like, oh my God.
Like, how can you possibly? Yeah. Aeroponic. I'm so curious about that. I've learned about aquaponic and hydroponic, and obviously we've mostly heard about soil gardening, but aeroponic I'm really curious about.
So both aeroponic and aquaponic are a type of hydroponic growing. So just so people know my background, I'm a biologist by education. I worked on shrimp farms in Costa Rica. I have been growing things since I could walk. My mother was one of the first organic gardeners in the Midwest. She was a single mom of 5, and the only way that we had food was that we grew it. So I've been growing food my whole life. When we moved to Santa Barbara in 2007, nobody can afford enough yard to have gardens for the most part. There are a lot of community gardens here, which are great. But as most of you know who've been following the drought, California is a drought state. We steal all of our water from the Colorado River. Arizona gets the short shrift, but we are the fruit and vegetable basket of the world, but we steal all of our water because for the most part, except for this year, we are a drought state. We don't have any water. And if you want to read more about that, read Mark Reisner's book, Cadillac Desert, or watch the documentary that was made about it. But it's so. If any of you can remember in your history reading about the Dust Bowl in Kansas,
right?
People believed there was a belief back then that water follows the plow. And their belief was a religious one that God would reward them if they went out and worked the soil. And we all know how that worked out, right? It did not work out. And the same thing is happening here in California. We are stealing water to grow food for the rest of the world. And so we need to look at solutions for that. Because number one, we don't have enough water. Number two, the way that we grow food is so unsustainable. 70% of all global warming is caused by the way that we grow food, because we're just dumping things back into the groundwater. We like think, okay, we're organic gardeners, we're going to use cow manure, and then we just dump it back into the creeks and the rivers, which dumps into the ocean, which causes the algal bloom, which causes global warming. So we have to relook at this. Also, our soil is so depleted, compared to the 50s. People think that, oh, I'm not going to grow hydroponically or aeroponically because the soil is where the nutrients are. That's a complete fallacy. Soil is just a substrate that plants grow in. That's it. Right. Seaweed grows just loose in the ocean because it's just absorbing nutrients from what it's in. Epiphytes, orchids, things that grow on the sides of trees, they're actually considered the healthiest plants on the planet. And their roots are in the air. They're just absorbing water and nutrients out of the air. And that's what our technology is. So hydroponics is this idea that we can grow things just, without the soil. And aquaponics uses the addition of fish to that, which is awesome, right? Because it's the fish droppings that then feed the plants. However, it doesn't solve the whole picture, because plants need only 16 different nutrients. They can grow with just 3: CPK, carbon, potassium, and
phosphorus,
nitrogen, and phosphorus. But we need many more plants and many more nutrients than that. So our units, how we grow, is designed with human nutrition in mind. So aeroponic gardening takes hydroponics. So hydroponics makes you do this is what you're going to use for tomatoes, and this is what you're going to use for lettuce, and there's a whole infrastructure that happens that's not necessarily sustainable. Mm-hmm. Aeroponic gardening, which most aquaponic farmers use, they use an aeroponic system that they sit on top of their tanks. Oh. Aeroponic gardening uses the idea that the roots are sitting in air, because the healthiest plants have air around them. And that's why we put worms in the soil. And that's why we have water filtrating through the hydroponic systems. When you just let the plants be in air, the roots be in air, I wish I had a tower here I could show you, they're the healthiest that they can possibly be. So aeroponic gardening allows you to use 5 to 10% of the resources that soil gardening does. Wow. You can't grow everything that way, but the things that you can grow, it makes sense to grow that way. Now, Dixon Despommier of Cornell University says in his book, Vertical Farming, that we are not going to be able to sustain the population growth that we're having as a planet if we don't start growing up. Because what's happened is that only 2% of our population now are farmers. Used to be that only 2% of our population wasn't farmers.
Right.
So not only 2% is, and a really great another book to read is Paul Roberts' End of Food, where he talks about how we've shifted the dynamic of how food is supplied. Like when I was a kid, if you went to the grocery store and they didn't have it on the shelf, chances are they had it in the back. Now, whatever they got on the shelves, that's what they got. And they're just counting on the supplier who counts on the farmer getting it to them. It's like quick food. And that's not how farming works.
Right.
So it's put this huge stress on farmers, huge stress. So we need to bring farming into where people live, because that's a whole nother conversation, is how much, trucking and how much transferring and how much you going to the store and getting all of this it takes. So the more that we can grow our own food and stop going to the grocery store for every time you need a salad. Like I know that in France, it's very popular to shop every day for what you want. That's fine if you're going to the local store that you're just walking down the street to. But here where I live, even in Santa Barbara, small little town, and even though I drive a Tesla, I'm still increasing the carbon footprint by going to the store every day and getting greens for my salad.
Right.
Much easier for me to just pop out on my roof, grab the greens that I need and bring them inside. And then you think about, so greens, this is not a sustainability issue. And I'm sorry, I get really fired up about all this.
I love it.
But, greens lose 60% of their nutrient content the minute you cut them.
Right.
That's not true with fruiting plants. It's not true with cauliflower, brassicas, things like that. But green leafy vegetables lose 60% of their nutrient value the minute you cut them. So you want to eat them right away. So to be able to grow them outside your door, whether it's in dirt or in a tower garden, is ideal. For me, I don't like the neighborhood animals peeing on my greens. I don't like the runoff from whatever Roundup the neighbors used on their garden. I don't like that running into my garden. So I love that my garden is completely whatever I put on it. Unless it's getting, chemtrails that are coming out of the rooftop. So we've been growing this way since 2011. We started out as a commercial farm. We are now a not-for-profit farm. We donate all of our produce to local charities here in Santa Barbara. We run an internship program with the University of California at Santa Barbara, where we're training environmental studies students to grow this way. We do workshops to teach people how to grow this way. I have a YouTube cooking channel that I run off of the rooftop. It's vegan and gluten-free. Not that you have to be vegan and gluten-free to enjoy it. It's hilarious. It's called Cook with Jake and Joy. And it's just really about how do I get more plants in my family's diet without them knowing.
Sneaky.
Yeah, how can this be more delicious? So the thing about growing aeroponically is that everybody can do it. It's super simple. Not everybody can grow in the ground. People always say I have a black thumb. You don't have to have a green thumb to grow this way. It's plug and play gardening. So that's really great. You can also grow anywhere that you live. Even if you are in an apartment, you can grow with an aeroponic system just by having lights. I have a client who has her tower garden in between her washer and her dryer in her laundry room. So you just have to be committed to having your own produce. So it's super simple. It's really fun. It's a great way to engage your family. And where does their food come from? The average child does not understand that carrots come out of the ground. They think they come, like if you ask a kid where their lettuce comes from, they say from Safeway or from whatever store they shop at. They don't understand where it grows. So when you can engage them in that, and on that note, we have found that educators that start to incorporate growing food into their curriculum see a drop in dropout rates. They see a increase in graduation rates. They see a drop in teenage pregnancy. They see a drop in drug use. They see a rise in engagement because there's something about plants that turns kids on. And the sooner we can turn them onto those plants, the better. So all that stuff, the ease of it, how much older people who can't bend down into the ground anymore, people who have disabilities, to be able to grow up here. So simple, easy, fun. Then we look at having food sovereignty. We have so many, I just did this in my website. I can't remember what the number is, but it's a very, very, very high number of humans on this planet that are food insecure. Very high number.
Too many
And
for sure.
yeah. And to be able to have them have food sovereignty. I have a partner on my team who has she has 4 of these vertical growing units called tower gardens, and she has a handful of chickens, and she lives off of the eggs and what she produces on the tower gardens, and she feeds the chickens off of what she produces in the tower gardens, the scraps. So she's created a whole system. And during the pandemic, she had to do that. She lost her job, had no way of earning income, no way of living, and she could sustain herself food-wise from this growing system. Wow. So that's the second thing is this food sovereignty is, really being able to control your food. So it's being able to control what's on it. And, I get that there's lots of organic farmers out there, and I applaud you, and it's great. But when we started our farm, Chapala Gardens, we got the criteria for what we needed to do to become certified organic. And the list of chemicals that we could put on our plants was astonishing. And the points that my daughter, who was running the farm at the time, would need to wear a hazmat suit when she was administering some of them.
Oh my gosh.
And we could not let any animals on the roof for 48 hours after we had administered them.
For organic gardening.
Yes. And I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but it does not mean that this is what you want to eat. So being able to control what's on your food is super, super, super important. The other thing about organic farming is that they all get warned before they're coming, before the inspectors are coming. So I'm not saying that there are devious organic farmers out there, but it's very possible.
Oh my gosh.
And then the third thing is sustainability. And I know, Amy, that's really your jam is, how can we grow food in a sustainable manner? And it wasn't until I started growing with the towers that I realized how much they fed into the sustainability conversation. So as I already said earlier, we only use 5 to 10% of the resources that soil gardening grows.
That's amazing.
Yes. It's also a closed loop system, so nothing gets dumped into groundwater. Okay. So that's really huge. The other thing is because we're not using any herbicides or pesticides, we start to attract natural pollinators. So we are rebuilding. We have a complete ecosystem up on our roof that's bees and birds and butterflies and hummingbirds and coming to our farm. Now we use edible plants on almost every one of our towers, and I do recommend that no matter if you're soil gardening or gardening aeroponically, that you use plants, that you use flowering plants, and blues, yellows, purples, reds. Those all are going to attract natural pollinators, and you're going to build back that environment. So yeah, I mean, for so many reasons, those 3 are the main: ease and fun.
Sure.
Can do it anywhere. Food sovereignty and sustainability. Those are all the reasons that I grow this way. And if you want, I can share some pictures.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I'm so loving this.
Cool. Okay. So why tower garden? Here is a snapshot of our rooftop. You can go to chapalagardens.com and read more about it. We're just having our website redone. So right now it looks like a sophomore in college developed it, because a sophomore in college did develop it. Back in 2011, one of our daughters created this as her internship program. But you can see lots of it here. And our motto is grow healthy, be happy. So as I said, just kind of repeating everything, it allows you to easily grow your own fresh, nutrient-rich food without soil. And we have 2 different versions. Either one of them could be grown indoors or outdoors, but our home, which you see in the background, is ideal for growing greens and herbs indoors. And most people that grow with a home have it in their kitchen just like that. And the flex can be used indoors or outdoors to grow any variety of fruits, vegetables, herbs, and flowers.
Wow.
So no matter where you live, you can grow. This is my husband, who now runs the farm as a nonprofit. And my daughter, who right out of college was able to turn her art degree into a profitable business. And I do like people to know that, because it's easier to make an income from growing aeroponically than it is from growing in the ground. And it's a lot less work. So as I said earlier, our plants grow 3 times faster. Our yields are 30% larger. And this is according to a study that was done at the University of Mississippi, comparing aeroponic growing to best practices soil gardening. You have total better control over your food. And when you taste the food that we grow aeroponically versus what's grown in the ground, you won't even realize that lettuces all taste different. So we sold our produce at the farmer's market for 2 years, and I would load everything up into my SUV, and you could just smell all of the different things. And when you can smell something, that's the antioxidant level in that fruit or vegetable being really high. The higher the nutrient density, the stronger the smell, the more colorful. And for kids, this is just going to help them to nurture healthy habits. This is my stepdaughter on the right. She created this website. And my daughter on the left, she got her degree in art and did a short internship, like literally less than a week, and was able to come back and make a successful farm. And that doesn't happen in soil gardening. Does not happen.
Right. It takes years.
Yes. And we really want to minimize that learning curve and time commitment. Because of the way that we grow, it's so much easier than growing in soil, and people start saving money right away. We sell these units, Amy, on a 12-month installment without any interest or finance charges. So people can pay $55 a month, and they're growing way more produce than that. And at the end of the year, they've saved about $1,200, and the following year, they're saving over $2,500.
Wow.
Compared to average grocery bills. So I find that sustainable myself. I anytime I can help someone save money. This is my daughter and I on our farm. We have a cooking show up here called Cook with Jake and Joy. And we teach people to actually take the produce, because a lot of times people look at some of this produce and they go, what the hell do I do with, curly kale? You go to a restaurant and they don't chiffonade it, they don't marinate it, and you're like, you have little pieces of kale stuck in your teeth, and you're like, oh, I'm doing something good for myself. Right. But we actually teach you how to take this produce and do something wonderful with it and have it taste wonderful and not be like, ugh.
Right. I did something good for my body, but ugh.
Yes, absolutely. So as I said earlier, we use 10% of the land and as little as 2% of the water needed for traditional growing. All of the nutrients are recycled, so it leaves a much smaller CO2 footprint. We eliminate supermarket transit and storage. We reduce, and I think eliminate, we don't use any pesticides or herbicides. There are some farms that do, but we don't use any, because the healthier the plant is, the more it protects itself from pests and diseases. So we're okay with, if we got some stuff that gets eaten by a bug here and there, that's okay. I'd rather have that than have the
chemicals, right?
Yes,
for sure.
So I'm okay with a couple of holes in my lettuce.
Yeah.
So tower garden's not only for the home. You can get a family garden, which is 3. We started out with 2. We went to 6. But you can start out with 3 for, you're paying, I think, $155 a month for 12 months. And you're growing, 28 times 3, whatever that number is. What is that? 75, 81, 84. It says it right here in front of me. It's right here in front of me. 84 plants. You do not have to be very smart to grow with a tower garden.
I was just watching you and trying to do the math myself. Oh boy.
And then this community farm, this is a really interesting thing. So we sell 12 tower gardens together. People can buy them for around $500 a month over 12 months. And I have people on my team who start little micro farms. So they build a sustainable business. They've got 12 towers. They've got them in their backyard in the middle of San Francisco. And they're growing enough produce to sell to other people, either at the farmer's market or through a CSA bouquet service. They grow seedlings, they sell swag, they do little events at their place, and they make this huge difference. And so it's really kind of cool. that I see these people for $500 a month, they get to start a business of their own. These are two girls down in Orange County that started their own farm. One, they're both single mom. Well, one's a single mom, one's not. But they have 12 towers up on a rooftop on somebody's business in Orange County, and they just do tons of cute things with this, and it's just adorable. I love what we're doing in the classrooms. We are teaching kids to grow food without any experience. Their teachers don't have to be experts. There are so many grants out there, Amy, for people for teachers to get these paid for. And this is actually grant season right now. So May is probably going to see the end of that. I think it's March to May is grant season. We have a free curriculum that comes along with it. But if you go to greenbronxmachine.com, you can see another curriculum that goes for all 12 years. And it incorporates all of the modalities, not just science and math. So really, really cool. greenbronxmachine.org. Yeah, check it out, and then go to curriculum or go to teachers resources and you'll see all of the stuff. It's really phenomenal what he's doing. We have lots of resources. We have, like there's a handout like this on every vegetable that you can possibly grow, what you need to do to grow peppers, what you need to do to grow tomatoes, what you need to do to grow greens. Greens are the easiest thing to grow to begin with. And like I said earlier, greens are the things that lose their nutrient content right away. So the things that I want people to start growing right away.
Right.
So just the amount of resources are amazing. We have there's a couple of different Facebook groups and just so many people that are excited about having people grow their own food that we just, not only are we helping with sustainability, we're helping with food sovereignty, and we're helping people have more fun, get more connected to the food that they're eating, and eat more plants and have it not cost them $1 million.
That's amazing. I mean, to think of one tower, I was like $55, but I easily spend more than $55 a month on vegetables.
Absolutely.
Easily. I think yeah. But so that sounds like a no-brainer. And then, if you wanted to support like, a food bank or something like that,
that's what we do. We donate all of our food to the food bank here in Santa Barbara, to the organic soup kitchen that provides low-income people struggling with cancer. We donate to the Salvation Army. And so we like, it's our total give back. A lot of times we look at how much money can we donate to organizations, but I feel really great that we donate this food.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they're going to do with the money, but I know they're going to use the food.
Right. Absolutely.
What other questions do you have? I know I'm like a fire hose, like just,
I love it. I love it. You really like, it just makes so much sense. And I honestly didn't know that greens, I know they're healthier and they taste better, but I didn't realize that they would lose 60% of their nutritional content like instantly.
And greens are what we want to be eating, because greens at their center, what makes them so good is they are just like us. Like what courses through greens is what courses through us. Our red blood at the center is an iron molecule. In greens, chlorophyll is what goes through the center, and chlorine is what's at the center. Other than that, it's exactly like us. So when you eat a green, it instantly assimilates with your body and instantly is like making your body alkaline, making your microbiome healthier. All of that. So like if anything that ails you, I don't care what it is, there's nothing that ails you that eating more plants won't fix.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I do have a question about aeroponic gardening in general, just like for greens. Like I know that lettuces and greens are like mostly water. So how, if they're mostly water, do they get the water content if they're being grown in air?
Yeah, so we have a 20-gallon base at the bottom of the flux, a 13-gallon of the home, and it's just recirculating the water.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, so we put the nutrients in the water. There's a small pump. It's like a 20-watt pump. It's like takes the energy of a Christmas tree light. Here
Wow.
in Santa Barbara, it costs 60 cents a month to run.
Oh, that's
And
super
you don't have
cheap. Wow.
electricity to pour it through the top if you're that patient. But yeah, so it absorbs it, so it's trickling down. The bigger
Gotcha.
the plants get, the more they absorb. And so the more
Sure.
frequently you have to change the water, not change the water, but add to the water. But the average person, if you're growing greens, if you add 5 gallons a week, that's, so plants have what's called transpiration. I don't know how much you know about plants, but there's respiration. So that's the plant actually breathing and giving off, and there's evaporation. So the hotter the area that you're in, the higher the transpiration is going to
Sure.
be. The bigger the plant is, the higher the respiration is going to be. Fruiting plants are going to use a lot more water than greens do. Yeah.
Cool.
But it is a miracle, man, that these greens take sunlight, take water and a little bit of nutrients, and we can live off of them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because they also, it's there's also so much fiber. Like I remember, this might be too much information, but I just had a colonoscopy and it was torture to not be able to eat salad for like a week. I was like, what am I supposed to eat if I can't eat, but I don't think of it as fiber, but until you can't eat it.
So all primates, what has allowed us to capitalize on our environment and what has allowed us to live when other species have died off is the fact that we eat greens and beans. Greens and beans are our power animals. And so the more greens and beans you can eat, the better.
Cool. Okay. I'm sold. That's awesome. Let's see. So, and you grow this in Santa Barbara on the roof, on the beach. So it's hot, it's dry.
It's not that hot, but we do have people growing in Arizona. I'm going to Arizona on Monday and I'm going to go see a farm that grows year round in Phoenix weather.
Oof, 100 and something.
Yeah. So what the thing is that because we're not using soil, cold temperatures and hot temperatures don't affect it as much. So like I've come home to my tower being out because it ran out of water or the power went out or whatever. And normally in a garden, if you come home and your plants are dead, there's no bringing them back.
Forget it. Yeah.
But in an aeroponic system, you just turn the pump on for 24 hours and the whole thing comes back to life.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a cool thing. I'm just thinking of like my area, if there's like a food bank or a lower income community, like if someone were to put the money out and be like, I'm gonna help you out, like it just seems like such a really cool thing to be able to grow it and say, here you go.
Absolutely. And the grants make it so easy, and our company gives any boys and girls club that's eligible, they can get a tower garden for free
anywhere
in North America.
Awesome.
Yeah, they've got to have, a representative that's going to like be responsible to make sure that they're actually growing with it. We're not interested in tower gardens sitting in, sheds anywhere. So, there's a little bit of work to go through, but yeah, it's a program. We are running in Memphis where our parent company is, which is one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country. We have a program that's training chefs and training gardeners with the tower gardens. And then we also have a program in Appalachia that's taking foster kids who've aged out of the system. And there's a tiny home community that also has a tower farm.
Oh my gosh.
And so these kids get into their own home for the first time in their life.
And grow their own food.
And not just grow their own food, sell their own food.
Oh.
It's a business.
Got it.
You're selling this food.
Okay.
So
wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I get
so much opportunity
about this. Yeah, I just get super excited about this.
Wow, that's so cool.
And Amy, it's so neat that you reached out to me on LinkedIn, or I reached out to you. We don't know each other at all.
Yeah.
And just that you would strike up an interest in what I'm doing. I'm just really passionate about it.
I love that. And I love, I mean, I'm loving learning different ways to be sustainable. Like there are just so many different ways. My next question for you is going to be, when I say the word sustainability, what does that mean to you? But I know that the word sustainability is such a big word and it can mean so many things, but for each
Yeah,
person, it means something
yeah,
a little bit smaller and a little bit more personal.
sure. So my daughter was raised in the Waldorf education, and they use they're really into biodynamic farming. And I was really curious when we started growing aeroponically what they would think about it. And the farmer at her school said anything that leaves the planet in better shape is biodynamic and sustainable.
Mm,
And so growing with the towers, we're leaving the planet in better shape. We're letting the soil rest. We're letting it recover. We're not demanding of it. We are taking up less resources. We are taking up less space and providing more food. And for me, that's sustainable. To be able to provide, and then I get the whole food sovereignty thing combined into sustainable, because for me, I think we have to think about our population as well as our planet. Because if we don't have any people left to populate, I mean, we've got so many food insecure people on this planet that if I can teach them to grow their own food, in South LA, which is Roy Finley, the gangster gardener, he says that more people die by the drive-through than die by the drive-by in South LA. Let that
yeah.
sink in for a minute. The
Right?
drive-through. So if we can help people to, when people grow their own food, they eat better food and they get excited. This stuff excites, plants excite us. They are we owe our lives to plants.
Right.
Our very existence we owe to plants. We could not be on this planet without them. They produce all the oxygen that we breathe. They produce all the food that we eat, whether you eat animal products that ate the vegetable matter. We owe our lives to these guys. And so the more we can learn about them, the more we can take care of them, the more we can invite them into our lives, for me, the better. And so that whole thing, I know that that may not sound like sustainability. It might sound like woo-woo out there hippie stuff, but it's just, it for me is it's the whole picture.
I get that 100%. I mean, if you're producing your own food, you appreciate it. You are excited about it.
You're
Absolutely.
involved in
Like
it. You're involved in it. You're intimately involved in it.
you are sustaining your own self, which is it's
We have
really
enough
powerful to
towers
think
that
about.
we could feed our whole community. If everything's shut down, we could keep our community alive. I told you about my friend who has the chickens and her towers. We'll just put some chickens up on the roof, and
Absolutely.
my daughter's actually starting a chicken farm because I don't know if you know this, but most farms that raise chicks for resale kill all of the males, and they kill them by throwing them into a fire or a chipper. And
Oh my
there's
gosh,
very
that's awful.
Yeah, so there's only one farm in California. I mean, I'm sure there are smaller farms that you can go in, but as far as like shipping them. So my daughter's starting a farm called Safe Landing. Her husband's a pilot. And so it kind of goes, it's the safe landing of the birds. And so she's starting a no-kill chick farm, and she's going to be selling chicks and quail.
Which daughter is this?
She's my daughter, not my stepdaughter, but this is
Okay.
her name is Jake Kelly.
Oh my
So
gosh.
watch out for Safe Landing Farms.
Awesome. Oh, so okay, so it's you and Jake that are doing the YouTube
So we
channel.
started this business together, and then she moved up north. She got married, and now she has another farm up there. She's got 20 tower gardens on it, and now she's starting the chicks. And so, yeah,
Good for her.
yeah.
Good for all those little roosters. My goodness. That sounds just horrible. I can't even.
I know. I
Um,
was so horrified when I heard that.
I have a few chickens and I watch the
I
chicken
heard them.
pages and oh yeah, that's little Rudy. My goodness. And I see on like Facebook pages, people are like, I've got too many roosters, or I can't have a rooster, or blah blah blah. And somebody will always take them. I have a friend who has a rooster, not a rooster farm, but she has their own. They have their own house, and just the bachelor pad, she calls it.
That's
But
great.
some of them get along, and some of them are jerkholes, but you shouldn't choose their future for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is, gosh, it's all so amazing. I love that there are so many ways that you can grow things and get healthy food, and that just sounds so easy.
It is.
And so my last question for you, Joy, is going to be, how can people find you and follow what you're doing and get themselves a tower garden or 4 and serve their...
Yeah, well, our Chapala Gardens website will take you anywhere. Chapala gardens.com. It'll get you in connection with me, in connection with the Tower Gardens. You can also go to joykelly.towergarden.com. You can look for me on Facebook. My YouTube cooking show is Cook with Jake and Joy. And if you want to get some fun education and laugh a lot, I highly recommend that, and share that with your friends. But and then look for me on Facebook. I'd love to connect with you.
Cool. I'm totally down with the YouTube channel. My husband just left for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I usually do like Food Network TV because...
Well, check it. I would love to hear what you think of our cooking show.
Oh, 100%.
We just shot our 10th season, and I think it's our best. Our cameraman is hilarious. He's in charge of all of the athletic videos for CU and Boulder. And this is just a pet project of his that he does. He's mic'd up through the whole thing. So you'll hear him throughout the show.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Okay, so chapalagardens.com and
joykelly.towergarden.com and Cook with Jake and Joy.
Okay.
But you can get to all of it through Chapala Gardens. So
okay. And this info will all be in the show notes. But oh my gosh, Joy, thank you so much. This is incredible. I don't look like I'm super excited, but I'm super excited. We were up at 2:00 this morning.
Oh my gosh.
To get him to the airport. But I
forget where you live, Amy. Where do you live?
I'm in Maine.
Oh, right. Now I remember, because
my husband is heading to South Korea.
Yeah.
My husband's heading to South Korea today.
Oh my gosh.
To bicycle.
Really? Oh, how fun. That's cool. Well,
so I have the house to myself to watch some YouTube.
Yeah, I would like, I don't mind being alone for 2 weeks.
Same. Cool. All right. Well, I so appreciate your time and all this information. I'm psyched about the pictures, the slides too.
Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, I
look forward to connecting again. It was really great.
Heck yeah. Awesome. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks, Amy. Have a great rest of yours.
I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the hate with sweet forgiveness. Wait light of grace has finally found me. Well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder